The Ziran Dominion's fleet covered the sky like a silver storm. Thousands of massive ships floated in formation, glowing with cold blue light. Below them, the planet called Earth burned. From the bridge of the flagship Celestial Crown, Princess Lyrana Velthar stood at the window and watched the destruction. Her people called this mission the Cleansing. To them, it was a necessary act, a way to erase a race that might one day challenge the stars. But to Lyrana, it did not feel like victory. She had been raised to think of the humans as wild, emotional creatures. Her tutors had said they were a danger to peace. Her father, Emperor Velthar, had told her that mercy was weakness. Yet as she stared at the planet below, watching cities vanish in light, Lyrana's heart felt heavy. "This world screams even in silence," she whispered. Her advisor, General Torvek, turned toward her. "Your Highness, the resistance pockets have been neutralized. Earth's defense systems are gone. The Emperor will be pleased." Lyrana didn't answer. Her golden eyes stayed fixed on the burning surface. Fire stretched across continents like veins of light. The once blue oceans reflected orange and red. "How many lives?" she asked softly. Torvek paused, unsure how to answer. "Billions, Princess." "But they were enemies of the Dominion. Their destruction brings safety to us all." "Safety," she repeated. "Or fear." He frowned but said nothing. He had served her father long enough to know when silence was safer than truth. Lyrana turned away from the window and walked to the control platform. She had been trained as a tactician, but she had never commanded such a massacre. The screens showed detailed maps, red marks fading one by one as human cities disappeared. She pressed her palm to one of the glowing panels. "Show me the largest remaining population zone." The holographic map shifted to focus on a continent labeled Australia. A city burned at its heart. "New Sydney. Still resistance?" she asked. Torvek nodded. "A human commander refuses to surrender. He has broadcast a message to our channels. We are preparing to silence him." "Play the message," Lyrana ordered. The bridge fell quiet as the recording began. A human voice echoed through the speakers, deep, steady, and filled with courage. "This is Captain Elias Ward of the Earth Defense Vanguard. To whoever sits above our sky, you can destroy our cities, but you will never destroy what makes us human. We do not kneel to fear, not now, not ever." The message ended, leaving only the low hum of the ship's engines. Lyrana's fingers tightened on the edge of the console. That voice, strong but not cruel, carried something she had never heard from her own people. Conviction. "Show me this man," she said. Torvek hesitated. "Princess, the Emperor did not authorize. I gave an order," she said quietly. With a sigh, he entered a code. The main screen filled with the live image of a human battlefield. Smoke rose from shattered buildings. Amid the ruins stood a figure in battered armor, holding a rifle across his chest. His helmet was cracked, one arm bleeding, yet he stood tall. "That's him," Torvek said. "Captain Elias Ward." As she watched, the man looked up, not at the sky but through it, as if he somehow sensed her gaze. His eyes were gray, bright even through the static, and in that strange moment Lyrana felt something impossible, as though he was looking directly at her. Her breath caught. The bridge faded around her. She saw only that defiant human standing beneath the burning heavens. Then the screen flickered and he was gone. Lyrana stepped back, shaken. "He looked right at me," she whispered. Torvek gave a small laugh. "He can't possibly see us, Princess. Their technology is primitive. He's just looking at the sky." But she wasn't convinced. There had been something in his eyes. Not madness, not despair, but will. "What drives them to fight when there is no hope?" she asked. Torvek shrugged. "Pride, perhaps. Or ignorance. Humans cling to emotion instead of logic." "Maybe," she said softly. "Or maybe it's something we lost long ago." The general didn't reply. Later that cycle, when the bridge was quiet and the officers had gone to rest, Lyrana returned alone. She activated the private observation deck and looked again at the Earth. The war had begun when human explorers entered Ziran territory. A simple misunderstanding, her historians said, but fear had turned that mistake into a declaration of war. The Dominion always acted from fear. Fear of losing control, fear of chaos, fear of anything they could not predict. And humanity was the one thing they could not predict. She remembered how the human captain had stood among the ruins. His courage made no sense to her. He should have been broken. Yet he had stood as if his spirit was unshaken. Lorana's reflection in the glass looked distant. Silver skin, regal armor, eyes trained for command. Yet she felt small before that blue planet. "Why do I feel this?" she whispered. "Why can't I celebrate our victory?" The stars outside had no answer. The next day, the Emperor himself appeared on the fleet's main communication channel. His massive holographic form towered over the bridge. "My daughter," he said, voice deep and cold, "you have done well to witness our triumph. The humans are finished. Soon their ashes will cool and the Dominion will be safe." Lorana bowed. "Yes, Father. Do you understand why we do this?" he asked. "To ensure our future," she replied automatically. He smiled thinly. "Correct. Mercy is a human weakness. They act from feeling, not from wisdom. You must never forget that." The call ended, but his words left a strange emptiness in her heart. She turned to Torvek. "General, have you executed the final bombardment on New Sydney?" "Not yet, Princess. We are waiting for the orbital realignment." "Delay it," she said quietly. He looked surprised. "Delay it? Why?" "I want to see if the human will speak again." Torvek frowned. The Emperor— "I'll take responsibility," she interrupted. The general hesitated, but finally nodded. "As you command." Hours passed. On the screen, the human stronghold still stood, though barely. Drones hovered above, recording every movement. Lorana watched in silence as Elias helped his wounded soldiers into shelters, refusing to leave their side. Even as the world burned, he tried to save others. One of the drones sent a close-up feed. Lorana leaned closer. The human's face was streaked with soot, his armor cracked, yet he smiled faintly as he spoke to a child hiding behind a fallen wall. "Stay down, little one. You'll see the stars again," he said. The words reached her through the drone's translator. They pierced something deep inside her chest. For the first time, Lorana felt ashamed, not of fear, but of what her fleet was doing. "General," she said, her voice tight, "end the bombardment orders. Keep all weapons on standby." "Princess, that's against command protocol." "I'll face my father myself," she said. "But not one more life will be taken today." Torvek hesitated, then obeyed. The fleet's cannons went silent. The stars above Earth dimmed, waiting. That night, as the planet turned beneath her ship, Lorana could not sleep. She returned once more to the observation deck. Earth looked smaller now, half covered in smoke. Yet somewhere below, she knew that human was still alive. She didn't know his name yet, but she remembered his eyes. Gray, sharp, full of strength. She wondered if he still looked at the sky, wondering who watched him. "Strange human," she murmured. "You fight with nothing left to save, and still you stand." Her reflection in the window looked different now, less like a princess, more like a question waiting for its answer. And far below, on the ruined surface, Captain Elias Ward stood among the ashes, staring at the stars. He could feel something watching him, not with hatred but with curiosity. He whispered to the sky, "Who are you?" Neither of them knew that this single moment, one look through fire and distance, would change the fate of two species forever. Smoke still covered the ruins of New Sydney. The air was thick with dust and the once blue sky looked gray and broken. Captain Elias Ward stood on a cracked highway, scanning the horizon through his damaged helmet. His radio hissed with static. The fleet above Earth still filled the sky like cold metal clouds. Most of his team was gone. Only a few soldiers and a handful of civilians had survived the bombardment. They hid in underground shelters that had once been subway tunnels. Supplies were low, but Elias refused to give up. He looked up again at the faint glow of the alien ships. Somewhere up there, far beyond his reach, someone watched. He remembered that strange feeling from before, as if eyes had met his through the burning light. He didn't know who she was, or why he'd felt it, but it stayed in his mind like a quiet echo. Far above the planet, Princess Lorana Velthar sat alone in her private chamber aboard the Celestial Crown. Her decision to stop the bombardment had caused unrest among the officers. The generals had questioned her loyalty, but she had not changed her mind. Her people believed mercy was weakness. Yet the human captain had shown strength without cruelty. That made her wonder if everything she had learned was wrong. Lorana activated her communication console and opened a restricted channel. The signal she traced came from the surface, the same region where the human commander was last detected. The connection was weak, filled with interference. It was impossible to see his image clearly, but his voice could travel through. Her heart beat faster. She knew what she was about to do could be seen as treason. Still, she pressed the button. Static filled the human radio. Elias frowned, adjusting the dials. "This is Captain Ward, Earth Defense Vanguard. Identify yourself." For a moment there was no answer. Then a calm, melodic voice spoke, one that did not sound human. "You are speaking to Princess Lorana Velthar of the Ziran Dominion." The words froze him. A princess? Of the fleet that had destroyed his world? Elias gripped the radio tighter. "You have some nerve contacting me after what your people did." "I am not here to mock you," she said softly. "I only wish to understand you." "Understand?" He almost laughed. "You burned half the planet. What more do you need to understand? You fight even when you cannot win. Your cities fall, yet you still stand. I do not understand that." Her voice wasn't angry, and it was curious, almost sorrowful. Elias took a slow breath. He could have shouted, could have turned the radio off, but something in her tone stopped him. "Because it's ours," he said finally. "This planet, this sky, and it's all we have. If we stop fighting for it, then we're already gone." "Your courage defies reason," she whispered. "But maybe reason is not everything." Static grew louder and the signal began to fade. Before it broke, he said quietly, "If you really want to understand, come and see what your war has done." Then the channel went silent. Lorana sat frozen. Her hands trembled slightly. No one had ever spoken to her like that, not even her father. The human's voice carried pain, but also something more powerful, dignity. She replayed his words again and again. "If you really want to understand, come and see." To visit the surface was forbidden. No Ziran noble had ever set foot on a war-torn world. It was considered dishonor. Yet she felt drawn to it as if her heart demanded truth. That night she looked out the viewport. Earth's shadow turned beneath her ship. For the first time she saw it not as an enemy world, but as a wounded one. The next morning the Emperor's face appeared on her main screen. "My daughter," he said, "why have the bombardments stopped?" "Reports speak of hesitation." Lorana bowed slightly. "I believe the humans are no longer a threat, Father. There is no need for further destruction." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Compassion has no place in command. End the delay and finish the cleansing." "Yes, Father," she said, but inside, she had already decided otherwise. As soon as the transmission ended, she called her personal guard. "Saren, I am taking a shuttle to the surface," she said. Saren stared in shock. "Princess, that is forbidden." "I am aware," Lorana said. "You will come with me or you will forget you ever heard this order." The guard hesitated, then bowed. "As you command." The shuttle descended through dark clouds past columns of smoke. Lightning flashed in the distance. When they broke through the haze, the ruins of New Sydney came into view. Buildings lay in pieces, fires still burned, and rivers of ash ran between the streets. Lorana pressed her hand to the glass. She had seen destruction before, but never like this. There were no enemies here, only silence and sorrow. "Set us down there," she said quietly, pointing toward a cluster of collapsed towers. They landed beside what had once been a plaza. The air smelled of metal and rain. Lorana stepped out, her silver armor glinting faintly under the dark sky. Every sound seemed heavy. She could almost hear the planet mourning. Saren looked around nervously. "If the humans find us, they won't attack unless we give them reason," she said. Below the plaza, in an old subway tunnel, Elias's scanner detected movement. Two lifeforms, not human, approaching from the surface. He gathered his weapon and climbed up with his small team. When he reached the street, he froze. Standing in the open, surrounded by smoke, was an alien figure. Tall, graceful, silver-skinned. Her eyes glowed faintly gold. He knew instantly who she was. "Princess Lorana," he said, lowering his weapon slightly. She turned toward him, surprised that he knew her name. Captain Elias Ward. For a long moment they just looked at each other, two enemies who should have hated one another, meeting face to face in the ashes. "You came," he said. "I didn't think you would." "I had to see," she replied. "To understand what I have done." He studied her. There was no arrogance in her expression, only sadness. Around them the wind carried the sound of falling debris. "Now you've seen it," Elias said quietly. "Does it look like peace to you?" Lorana lowered her eyes. "No. It looks like fear wearing the mask of order. She knelt and picked up a small metal charm lying in the rubble, a child's toy shaped like a star. The edges were burned. She held it gently in her hands. "This belonged to someone," she whispered, "and we took it from them." Elias said nothing. For the first time he saw the conflict in her face. She was not the monster he had imagined. Before they could speak again, Saren shouted, "Princess! Ships approaching from the east!" Lorana looked up to see Zyron's scoutcraft descending. They had been followed. If the scouts reported her presence, the Emperor would know she had gone against orders. Elias cursed under his breath. "They'll shoot first and ask later." "This way!" He grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the ruins. She didn't resist. Together they ran through broken streets until they reached an underground passage. The air was cold and damp. "You're helping me," she said in disbelief. "You came down here alone," he answered. "I don't leave people to die no matter what side they're on." Lorana looked at him astonished. "You risk yourself for your enemy? For anyone who still has a heart," he said simply. Something stirred within her then, a warmth she hadn't felt since childhood. She realized this man was the reason she couldn't bear to continue the war. The scout ships passed overhead, scanning but finding nothing. In the silence that followed, they sat among the shadows. Lorana removed her helmet, revealing silver-white hair that shimmered faintly in the dark. Elias watched her carefully. "You don't look like I imagined. And you," she said, "look more alive than I expected." He gave a tired smile. "That's what humans do. We keep going." Lorana smiled faintly in return. "Perhaps that is why my people fear you." They sat quietly for a while, listening to the distant thunder. For the first time since the war began, both of them felt something strange. A small, fragile peace. Then Elias said, "If you go back up there, they'll punish you, won't they?" "Yes," she said softly. "But I cannot return and pretend I did not see this." "My father will not understand." "Then don't go back," he said. "Stay here, help us rebuild." She looked at him in surprise. "Your people would never trust me." "Maybe not yet," he admitted. "But trust starts somewhere." Outside, the wind carried the smell of rain. The fires were dying. For a brief moment, Earth was quiet again, a silence between storms. And in that silence, something new was born. Not victory, not surrender, but understanding. Far above, the Zyron fleet waited for orders that never came. On the ground, a princess and a soldier sat side by side, bound not by war, but by the simple truth that both had seen too much pain. Lorana looked at the human beside her and said softly, "Perhaps we are not so different after all." Elias nodded. "Maybe that's what scares your people the most." They both looked up toward the sky, where the alien ships shimmered faintly through the clouds. The war wasn't over, but for the first time there was hope. Fragile, quiet, human hope. The sun rose over a scarred horizon, burning through the lingering smoke of New Sydney. Captain Elias Ward and Princess Lorana Velthar stood among the ruins, watching the survivors emerge from underground shelters. Children blinked in the light, clutching small toys, and adults carefully checked for food and water. For the first time since the bombardment began, the city felt alive, fragile but alive. Lorana looked at the human captain. "You risked everything to save them," she said quietly. Elias shrugged, a faint smile on his dusty face. "Someone has to. If we don't, who will?" The princess's eyes softened. "I did not expect your species to fight for what you could not win." "Yet you do it anyway." "Because it's ours," he replied simply. "Because giving up is never the answer." For hours they helped organize the survivors. Lorana guided her small team to carry supplies from wrecked buildings. Elias directed the humans to rebuild shelters, salvage water, and tend to the injured. The alien princess moved among them, careful not to show the power in her hands. Yet every human who saw her could sense it, the strength that had once terrified them. And instead of fear, they felt awe. Back on the Celestial Crown, her personal console beeped urgently. A message from the fleet's command. "Princess Lorana, your unauthorized actions have been detected. Report immediately or face detention." Her stomach tightened. She had hoped her secret trips to the surface would go unnoticed, but the Emperor's eyes were everywhere. Saren, her guard, looked concerned. "They know. We must return immediately." Lorana shook her head. "No, not yet. These people need help more than I need to obey orders." I made my choice, she said firmly. If they want to punish me, so be it. I cannot stand by while my people destroy what is still alive. Saren nodded slowly. Loyalty was more than obedience. Then we stay, Princess. Meanwhile, deep in the fleet, General Torvik reported the princess's defiance to the Emperor. She has not only halted bombardments, he said, but descended to Earth with her personal guard. She is aiding the humans. The Emperor's massive form loomed over the council chamber, eyes cold and dark. Lyrana Velthar is a traitor. She must be stopped. A counselor spoke nervously. Your Majesty, can we reason with her? She is still your daughter. Reason? The Emperor barked. Humans understand only fear, and my daughter has chosen to side with the weak. Prepare the fleet. Retrieve her. Earth will still burn if she refuses. Back on the surface, Elias and Lyrana worked side by side. They cleared debris from a collapsed building to reach a small family trapped inside. The mother cried softly as Lyrana lifted her with alien strength, setting her safely on the street. How are you so strong? The woman whispered. Lyrana smiled faintly. I am of another world. But even I cannot save everyone. That is the hardest part. Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. We do what we can. That is enough. Her eyes met his, and for a moment the war, the fleet, and the Emperor's orders felt like a distant memory. She had never met anyone like him. Fearless, grounded, human through and through. Hours later, the sound of engines thundered above. The sky darkened with Zyran fighter ships, scanning for signs of disobedience. Elias looked up, hand on his weapon. They found you. Lyrana exhaled slowly. I expected this. We cannot outrun them forever. One of the scouts locked onto their location. A beam of energy swept across the street, narrowly missing a group of survivors. Dust and rubble fell around them. Take cover, Elias shouted, diving behind a broken wall. Lyrana raised her hands, creating a shimmering shield that absorbed the energy blast. The humans stared in awe. Even Elias had to step back. They will not hesitate, he said. We must move now. They led the survivors through underground tunnels. Lyrana guided the way with her knowledge of the city, moving faster than anyone thought possible. The humans followed without complaint, trusting her instinctively. Deep in a hidden subway station, they paused to catch their breath. Lyrana lowered her arms and the shield disappeared. The survivors whispered among themselves. They were afraid, yet they did not flee. They trusted the princess. Elias turned to her. If we stay here, they'll find us eventually. We need a plan, Lyrana nodded. I have an idea. She pulled a small device from her belt, a Zyran stealth generator. This will hide us from sensors temporarily. Not forever, but long enough to escape the city. He took it carefully. And the fleet? They will come, she said. But we can delay them. I know their tactics. Elias studied her. You're defying your entire species to protect us. And I would do it again, she said, her voice steady. Because your people deserve a chance. Because I cannot ignore what is right. The human captain felt something stir inside him. Awe, respect, and the faintest glimmer of hope. Against all odds, this alien princess had chosen life over orders. That night they moved through the tunnels. Lyrana led them past collapsed tracks, flooded chambers, and hidden pitfalls. Occasionally, her shield flared to protect them from patrols above. Each time, Elias marveled at her precision and courage. At one point, a group of children tripped in the darkness. Lyrana caught them gently in her arms, whispering words he could not understand. But the children smiled, sensing safety. Princess, Elias said softly, you're more than your people believe. You're extraordinary. She paused, looking down at the faint human light in his eyes. And you, Captain, are stronger than you know. They shared a quiet moment, neither speaking for fear of breaking the fragile silence. The tunnel stretched endlessly, yet in that darkness they felt a strange bond forming, one built not from shared victories but from survival and courage. Above them, the fleet grew impatient. Torvik's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. Princess, return at once. You have gone too far. Lyrana activated a comm override. I cannot return. Not until these people are safe. Torvik hesitated, unsure if he should respond. Princess. This is treason. And mercy is not, she said softly. I will not obey a command that destroys lives needlessly. She disconnected, leaving the fleet frustrated. By dawn, the group emerged from the tunnels into a hidden clearing near the river. Lyrana's stealth generator hummed softly, shielding them from the remaining patrols. The survivors looked around, exhausted but alive. Elias approached her. "We made it," he said. "Thanks to you." "You would have done the same for me," she replied. "Even if you were an enemy," he shook his head. "Most humans would not trust someone from your kind. But we believe in action, not words. You acted when it mattered." Lyrana felt warmth in her chest. For the first time she realized that what she had done was more than rebellion. It was connection. Humanity had touched her heart, showing courage and hope in ways her people never could. Just as they settled, a new sound rumbled in the distance, the roar of engines and the hum of energy shields. The fleet had tracked them. Torvek's ships began descending, their lights cutting through the smoky dawn. Elias looked at Lyrana. "They won't stop until they find you." "I know," she said, drawing a deep breath. "Then we fight, not for conquest, but for life." Her hands glowed faintly as she raised a protective barrier. The humans gathered behind her, inspired by her courage. Even in the face of a fleet that had burned their world, hope shone in their eyes. "Together," she said, her voice strong. "Together," Elias repeated. The princess and the human captain stood side by side, the fleet above prepared to strike. Yet on the ground, life endured, stubborn, defiant, and unbroken. And in that moment, one truth became clear. Even an empire could not crush the spirit of those who refused to give up. The sky above New Sydney roared with the energy of thousands of Zyran ships. Their metallic hulls glinted in the early light, preparing to finish what the Emperor had begun. But the celestial crown did not follow them. Princess Lyrana Velthar stood on the bridge of her flagship, her hands resting lightly on the control panels. She had made her choice. No longer would she obey orders that destroyed innocent life. No longer would she allow fear to dictate her people's actions. Beside her, Saren, her loyal guard, adjusted shields and weapons. "They will not stop, Princess. The Emperor will come himself." "I know," Lyrana said softly. "Then we must show them what courage truly means." Below, Captain Elias Ward prepared the human forces. Though depleted, they had improvised turrets, energy cannons, and defensive positions. Every human present believed in one simple truth: they would not surrender. Elias glanced at the alien princess standing beside him on the makeshift command platform. "Are you ready for this?" he asked. "As ready as I will ever be," she said. Her eyes scanned the approaching fleet, then softened. "Thank you for trusting me," he nodded. "No one else would have survived long enough to make this choice. You did." The first strike came without warning. Zyran cruisers fired beams of energy toward the surface. Buildings crumbled instantly. Dust, smoke, and fire rose in columns that obscured the sky. Lyrana activated her ship's defensive systems. Energy shields flared to life, absorbing blasts that would have destroyed anything below. The humans watched in awe as she guided the celestial crown into precise maneuvers, striking the attacking ships without harming Earth. Elias shouted orders to the defenders. "Focus fire on the support ships. We can stop them from landing." The humans responded, launching improvised missiles and energy disruptors. Though smaller and weaker than the alien technology, they aimed carefully, targeting weak points in the fleet. From above, the Emperor's voice boomed through comm channels. "Lyrana, cease this madness! Surrender at once!" She raised a hand to override the comm. "No, I will not obey a command that kills innocents. If you want war, you will face me first." The battle escalated quickly. Zyran ships swooped down, firing relentlessly. Lyrana's shields flared with every strike. She moved her flagship with the precision of a dancer, blocking beams, deflecting missiles, and protecting the humans below. Elias led a small squad to intercept ground assault units that had descended to the city streets. Using debris and terrain, they ambushed Zyran walkers, destroying several before they could reach the survivors. The human soldiers were exhausted, but Elias inspired them with courage. "They may be stronger, but we are smarter. We fight because we must." Even the wounded joined in, their determination turning the tide of the battle in small but meaningful ways. Above, the Emperor's flagship appeared, massive and foreboding. He descended toward the celestial crown, his ship bristling with weapons. Lyrana faced him without hesitation. "Father," she said, voice calm, "your war ends here. You will not harm them." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "You betray your people, your name, your duty. I serve life, she replied. Not fear, not destruction. He unleashed the first strike himself, a massive energy beam that split the sky. Lorana barely managed to deflect it with her shields. Sparks flew across her bridge as alarms blared. Prepare to counterattack, she shouted to Saren. Her crew responded instantly, executing maneuvers she had never trained them for. Ships collided. Energy blasts exploded and the sky became a storm of fire and light. Elias observed from the ground. Princess, you can't hold them forever, he yelled. I know, she shouted back. But I will give every second I can. Keep the humans safe, he nodded, leading a daring assault to protect a critical supply point. Their combined efforts, human ingenuity and alien technology, slowed the Emperor's advance. Then disaster struck. One of the Emperor's energy beams struck the flagship. Alarms screamed. The celestial crown shuddered violently. Lirana's hand flew to the control panel, stabilizing the ship as best she could. Brace for impact, she shouted. The hull cracked and a fire broke out in the engine room. Saren shouted, We can't hold it much longer. Lirana glanced at the comm screens. Human forces were holding, but barely. If her ship fell, the battle would be lost and Earth would burn again. Her decision was instantaneous. Eject the escape pod. I'm going down to the surface. Now, Saren hesitated. Princess, it's too dangerous. I don't care, she said. If I die, I will die protecting them. The escape pod launched just as the flagship began to break apart. Flames and sparks surrounded them. Lirana's silver armor glinted as she prepared for landing. Below, Elias saw her pod descending. Without thinking, he piloted his damaged craft to intercept it, navigating through debris and fire. Hold on, he shouted through the comm. Lirana braced herself. Their ships collided with a controlled impact, and he guided her pod safely to the ground. Both crafts skidded across rubble, sparks flying. When they came to rest, Lirana stepped out. She was battered but alive. Elias helped her to her feet. You risked everything to save me, she said softly. And you risked everything to save them, he replied. The sky above remained chaotic, but for the first time they stood together, unbroken. The battlefield was quiet, though smoke and ash still lingered. The Zyran fleet had retreated in disarray. Many ships had been destroyed, and the survivors fled under the command of General Torvek, who no longer dared to challenge his daughter. Lirana stood beside Elias on a hill overlooking the city. The fires had begun to die down, revealing the scars of war. Buildings were gone, streets were cracked, yet life persisted. Humans emerged from hiding, wary but hopeful. Elias watched the princess. We made it, he said. Against all odds. Yes, Lirana replied. And I have learned something. Your courage is unlike anything I have seen. Not courage, and he said. Humanity. We survive. We protect. We fight when we have to, even when hope is gone. She nodded. For the first time she understood. The humans had a spark her people had forgotten. A determination not bound by fear, by strategy, or by orders. The following days were tense. Lirana helped organize the survivors. Together, she and Elias distributed water, food, and medical supplies. The princess's presence inspired awe, but also trust. Humans, wary at first, saw she meant no harm, even the small acts, carrying supplies, repairing shelters, protecting the wounded, demonstrated something extraordinary. It was not alien power alone that impressed them, but her choice to stand with them. Elias noticed the change in her. She moved differently, smiled differently, and spoke not as a princess of a conquering fleet, but as an ally. You are changing, he said one evening, watching her help a child rebuild a small toy robot. I hope so, she replied. I cannot go back to a life that destroys what is good. I have seen what your people are, and I cannot unsee it, he smiled faintly. Then you are one of us, even if your people will never accept it. The Emperor's communication arrived days later. His voice, cold and commanding, filled the sky. Lirana Veltar, surrender immediately. You are a traitor to your people and will face execution. She ignored the call, turning instead to Elias. They cannot force me anymore. I choose life, not fear. Then we fight together, he said. From that moment, the alliance was complete. Lirana used her remaining ships to shield the humans, guiding them to safety, teaching them strategies, and inspiring them to reclaim their world. Months passed. The war was over, but rebuilding had only begun. Lyrana remained on Earth learning from humans, teaching them about her people's technology, and helping prevent further conflict. Elias and she often walked through the ruins together, talking about their past, their choices, and their hopes for the future. One evening, standing on a hill overlooking a repaired part of the city, Lyrana said softly, "When I looked into your eyes, Captain, I saw something I had never known: courage, hope, family." Elias took her hand gently. "You showed me the same, that even someone from the sky above can choose to stand with us, not against us." She smiled. For the first time, she felt at home on this planet she had once been sent to destroy. The humans rebuilt their homes. Children played in the streets. Rivers ran clean again. And above, the few remaining Zyran ships watched from a distance, silent witnesses to a new alliance. Lyrana and Elias stood together, not as alien and human, not as princess and soldier, but as two beings who had faced fire, fear, and death, and had chosen life together. "Welcome to Earth," Elias whispered. "And welcome to a new beginning," Lyrana replied. Above them, the stars shone brighter than they had in centuries. Humanity had survived, courage had endured, and an impossible bond had been forged, one that would be remembered across worlds for generations.